The lesson 3 of Carrie Chang's courses on phonetics is about vocal tract and the places of articulation. Although the major topic is vocal tract and the places of articulation, there are so many tiny, teeny knowledge points in her video and some very interesting points, and I would like to share these interesting points I have taken notes on. So the first one is about Minnesota English. I was so surprised to know that Karen is from Minnesota. You know, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest accent. I can't really tell the difference. Maybe I can tell, of course, I can tell the difference between the Southern accent and the Northern accent. But for Minnesota, Midwest, I think it's very difficult for me to tell the difference because, as Karen said, like Midwest accent probably is the general American accent. So not really distinct and not so much difference. So it's not so much characteristic. There's not so many characteristics that you can distinguish them from the general American accent. But she told us such very interesting stories. For example, she said, okay, in Minnesota, when you want to say soda, you say pop. So later, when she went to other places, and she was laughed at because she was mocked because she always say soda pop. But sometimes I think in some places you also directly say soda as Coke. You know, Coke. Of course, Coca-Cola is a drink, but sometimes you also directly use Coke to mean soda. Okay, the second difference between Minnesota English and the rest of the America is about the name of the bucket. Like in other places of the US, we say bucket, but in Minnesota, you say pail for bucket. Actually, in Canada, Canadian people also say pail instead of bucket. Also, like in Canada, Canadian people say washroom instead of restroom. I still remember last time when I went to Walmart, I was trying to find the restroom. So I asked the person who is working there and asked them, okay, where is the restroom? And the person told me, I was kind of surprised and didn't get what I mean. And then I said, okay, where is the washroom? And then he pointed the washroom to the position the location of the washroom in the store to me. So in Canada, it's washroom, not restroom. Okay, and the third point is about the name of pen. And Karen said that in Black English, there's not difference between pin and pen. So you have to really understand the real meaning of these two words in the context. Okay, and I think the fourth point and the fifth point are very important because it's about some important phonetics concepts. Tonic stress. This is the first time I heard this kind of stress. So it's a high stress when you make. So this is a high stress. You have to make this kind of high stress when it comes to an end of a thought group. For example, I think the best example is from my last video. In my last video, I analyzed the two sentences. Karen said, I think there are two reasons why we do this. There are two reasons why we do this. First one I just told you, because they are content words. They are content words. So when a sentence comes to an end, you know, content words are the last words in a sentence. So you have to rise high to a high stress and then drop, but completely drop because it's the whole meaning is not ended. So when you drop, but you still, you know, rise a little bit. So it's a kind of combination of a high stress and continuation rise. So it's like, okay, because they are content words, because they are rise content words, because they are content words, they contain a lot of meaning, and then totally, you know, it's you don't use the how you say they contain a lot of meaning, so then you don't need to rise anymore because it's the ending. So they contain a lot of meaning. Because there are content words, they contain a lot of meaning. So in the end, there's no rise again because it's the ending. So high stress and continuation rise, very important phonetics concepts. and I'm so surprised because I have learned English for 25 years, and this is the first time I learned the concepts high stress, tonic stress. So then you can understand like how little knowledge I had for pronunciations. So I think this is a real time. This is a wake up moment for me. I really need to spend some time on stress, on the music pattern of the English language, and on the pronunciations. Okay, the fifth point is about another important phonetic concept: stress timing and syllable timing. And English is kind of a typical stress timing language. And on the opposite, I think this is what I think. I think Japanese is a syllable timing language. What's the difference between stress timing and a syllable timing? So syllable timing is kind of like, okay, da 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 da, but stress timing is like da 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 da. It's kind of like that. So then it comes to the next question: how do you fill the gap of the stress content words? So in the stress timing language, how do you like a da 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 da? So English is like kind of like this. So and Karen asked this question in her course: how do you fill the gap of the stress content words? So there are two answers: linking and unstressed. Linking unstressed functional words, or pause, 停顿 pause. So we can use, we still can use the last two sentences. The two sentences in the last video I talked about. Karen said, okay, there are two reasons why we do this. There are two reasons why we there are it's kind of filler words, so unstressed, it's unstressed. There are two reasons why we do this. First one I just told you, because they are. It's a hustle, like a linking, because there are content words. Okay, so this is the first case when there are some functional words that you can be used to link, but there is other scenarios. What if there are no functional words for you to fill the gap? How do you do? Pause. For example, if you want to say, okay, small white foxes, we want to emphasize all three words. However, between these three words, there are no functional words. So then you pause. Small white foxes. There are three. For example, we can say a whole sentence. There are three white foxes. There are it's unstressed, right? Because it's just functional words. But there are three white foxes. Okay, now we have already summarized all the important phonetics concepts in this lesson. Then let's move on to some relaxing, teeny knowledge point. The sixth point is about the pronunciation of in. It's difficult for me. I still cannot not distinguish the n and ng very well. Okay, the seventh point is about so if you want 重复的没有重音. For example, like the content words are going to appear the first time, then you can emphasize the emphasis, but when you repeat it, there's no need to stress it again. So then in that case, probably that content word doesn't have any stress anymore. Okay, the eighth point is the same old topic, en and eng. So Karen used a Chinese way to help you understand it. It's like n and on. Okay, so a nice point is very interesting. It's about British English and American English. In British English, we say suggested or figure, but in American English, people we think it's very slobbish and casual, but actually it's not. And for these two words, I think American English pronounce it more clearly. For example, it will say suggested figure. Okay, the last one is the most important one, but we leave the best for the last, right? We have to figure out the different terms for the vocal tract and the place of articulation. So for example, this position is called alveolar ridge, and the lip, this is a lip, and this is a teeth, lip, tongue, 舌头. And tongue, we can divide tongue in several parts. For example, tongue tip, tongue blade, tongue front, tongue back. and this is the vocal folds, and this is the trachea, and this is esophagus, 食道 esophagus, and this whole place is called larynx. I don't know the Chinese translation for larynx, and this is pharynx, and this is uvula. What's the meaning of uvula? Uvula is 小舌. So if you learn French, you will know, oh, you have to shake uvula a lot. And this is soft palate, 软腭. We can use our tongue to touch soft palate. So these are very simple terms. And hard palate, 硬腭. And this is nasal cavity. You have to use a lot of nasal cavity when you speak English. Okay, that's all for today. See you next time.